Welcome to Dance Specific Talks. This podcast is made for us dancers, and our goal here is to inspire dancers from all over the world to become better, both on and off the dance floor. We want to provide you with a platform where we dancers can share and learn from each other. So let me introduce to you your host for this podcast, T-ZER, and remember as always, by dancers, for dancers.
What's up, party people, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite dance podcast, Dance Specific Talks, released from Fit And Sensual, and I'm T-ZER, your truly host. Today we are traveling all the way to Orlando in Florida, USA, as we are meeting the world famous Bachata star Ataca. So what do you need to know about Ataca? Well, if you have not checked out Ataca and La Alemana's Bachata performances and videos, then you definitely have missed out. Go in and check out all their YouTube and Facebook and Instagram videos. They're all over the internet. Well, Ataca has not only done dancing performances, he has also been featured as an actor and a lead dancer in a salsa movie. He has also been singing and actually released an album together with La Alemana and some other artists. And now we're gonna get into this interview, and I hope to surprise Ataca with some new questions that he had never had before. But until then, you already know what to do. Click on subscribe, share your favorite episode, tag us in your stories, and much more so that we can know what you want to listen to here on your favorite dance podcast, Dance Specific Talks. And now, let's get it going. Welcome to this interview, Ataca. Ba, 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 ba.
What's up, everybody?
This is amazing. Thank you for coming on to this podcast. As I said to you earlier, you've been one of the requested names from the bachata scene. So I'm super, super grateful to have you on.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna dig a little bit deep today. I really feel like there's a lot of interviews out there about you and about Tanya, who I have also had as a guest on this podcast. So I kind of want to not repeat myself again. So I hope that I can hit you with some new questions that you never had before.
Bring it. I'm ready.
Cool. Well, so first of all, it's been an interesting year that we have had behind us. What is something that you have been like most grateful for during 2020?
I know it's a little cliches, but I think really being able to spend time with my family is something that we've been yearning for so many years. Not that we've prioritized our life and our career and our traveling over our family. It's just, our family really support us in doing what we need to do to pay the bills and stay happy and stay healthy. And obviously, because we were living in all different locations as well, it wasn't like we were just living nearby them, everywhere from New York, LA, DC, etc. I feel like now being back relocated in Orlando, and then pretty much moving here, and then the pandemic happening, it was just an opportunity for me to take advantage of really spending time with my mother, my father, my brother on a regular basis, whereas before it was every few months, maybe get to see them. So I definitely don't take that for granted. I feel like it's been a really refreshing experience for me, because I know, again, it's been something me and Tanya have been yearning for so long. So now to have it, like, I genuinely appreciate it. And I think moving forward, once the pandemic kind of pushes away and pushes through, I definitely want to continue prioritizing the time that I have with my family and my family members alongside, what I do for a living. I don't think I was as balanced as I would have liked to be back before, but I think it was because we were just so motivated and so like driven to just like travel every single weekend. And I've already done that. Now I feel like moving forward, I think it's important for myself, for me, Tanya, and the whole Untouched family to just continue balancing, our work and our life, our children, our families. I don't have children, I have a dog, but that's my son, my parents, and stuff like that. So I think that's the biggest thing I really get out of this whole scenario.
Yeah. So going back to your family, like when you kind of grew up, how was the environment? And kind of where do you think you draw the passion for dance from? Do you remember?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm blessed to have, two amazing parents. They've been together, since day one. Two different personalities for sure. My father, I would say when it comes to dance specific, I would say I definitely get that from my mother. My mother is one of 12 children, so all of her siblings were somehow connected throughout, through music. Not that that was their profession or anything like that, but they were all pretty much very musically inept. They were able to play instruments or sing or this, and they would do Christmas caroling. So I would definitely say the music and the dance part definitely comes from her. And then, I always say this, but my mom also provides this as well, is that, my dad is one of 8 children, and they're known as like the workhorses. I mean, they're just, his father is in the finca and the farm from 6 in the morning till like 9 in the afternoon, 9 in the evening. And he's already pushing 90. So obviously he doesn't do that now, but it's like, that's what we've kind of seen his siblings as. Like, they are really just good at everything from painting to building, construction to farming to this, to that. So I really just kind of fuse that together. And I feel like that's where I kind of come from. But dance and music, I got to give that to my mother for sure.
That's so interesting. So coming from, like, I wouldn't say maybe the word loud family, but coming from like such a big family with so
For sure.
many different type of outlets, how did you feel different compared to others growing up having that family?
It's a great question. And I don't think I ever really, thought about it like that, right? Because even though, through middle school, elementary, because my parents obviously moved us to, my parents moved myself and my brother to Florida, or, obviously to the States, to provide a different life for us. So they basically stopped everything that they were doing. My father was in the law enforcement in Puerto Rico. My mom was working multiple jobs over there, real estate, etc. And they basically just stopped everything just to start brand new for my brother and myself. So I think it was more just initially, I never really put into consideration like how big of a family and this, that. I just knew that my parents and my 2 individual parents were really trying to put a new life for us. So once I was in the States, obviously I think it just felt normal to me. I was like, hey, I have a brother, I have a mother, I have a father, but I really didn't ever really compare it to like my large family, my 15, 16 plus uncles and stuff like that. But I always remembered it. It wasn't anything that made me feel inferior or anything like that, or superior. But I really do believe that, my family is truly, truly, truly the reason, for who I am. My culture, my love for music, my love for dance, my love for family, my caringness. There's just so many components I really, really get from both sides, my father and my mother's side, that I'm always attentive to.
And so when you and your brother came over with your family and they kind of, had left everything behind, was there like early on kind of a pressure that you better make it with whatever you like to do because, we sacrifice kind of all of this?
I would say, I don't think me and my brother ever really felt the pressure to be good children per se, because my parents were really good at like showing us like that we were going to be good. As soon as we came from Puerto Rico, my mom got a job like this. Her English was really good because she was raised in Jersey for a few years, so her English was really good. She was able to get a job like that, very well paying job. My father, whose English was actually not very good, struggled a little bit to finding a job that allowed, that basically catered to him not really speaking English. So in the meantime, instead of just him sitting around and not doing anything, he built his own business. He did like his own lawn care. And that's what me and my brother were involved in, on the weekends and stuff like that. So, not once did I ever question, where we were going to, how we were going to be. But I think in regards to your question, I do believe that throughout the years, and this is something I would say, I'm not going to say my brother didn't do this. I'm just going to say that I did this, is I really genuinely put pressure on myself in every aspect, especially with school, to not really, to not disappoint my parents. I really put that pressure on myself to don't bring bad grades to the house, follow directions, follow instructions, and I do believe that comes from the hard work that they put in, bringing us from Puerto Rico to the States. I just didn't want to upset them. You know, my brother was a little bit more of a knucklehead, and he bumped heads with my parents a little bit more. But, you know, I also learned from him as well. And, you know, I just stayed back and said, you know, let me bring in the good grades. Let me work hard and continue to making my parents proud.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that. Just a sidetrack, but my father was born when the Second World War ended, and you know, continuously throughout my childhood, even though he got me very, very late, he just kept
For sure.
reminding me of like, you know, I used to work for like this and this many cents per hour, and whatever you have around you, I'm gonna teach you how to work for it.
For
So
sure.
I had my first like salary talk with my dad when I was 7. You know, how much am I gonna get for running your errands, kind of thing. So yeah, I completely relate to that. That's great.
Awesome.
So you grew up with this obviously culture, Puerto Rican. Dancing is something that I assume that a lot of families from Puerto Rico just have naturally in their families, but many people maybe don't see it as a career to pursue.
Sure.
How did this come up in your teenager years? Like, no, I actually want to go for this, or was it later, or where did that turning point of you maybe thinking I can make a living out of this come from?
Yeah, definitely the idea of making dance a career did not come till very, very, very late in the game for me. You know, dance, I think, started, you know, as like what you mentioned, more part of my culture, something that I enjoyed, something my mother enjoyed. So yes, my mother would, you know, teach me and my brother how to dance here and there in the parties and this and that. You know, I definitely feel like I was very drawn towards dancing at a very early age as well. But again, just very, you know, enjoyable times, learning some Latin dancing you know, with my mom. Then pushing forward a little bit, I do remember that when like it was in like elementary or high school or something, like maybe middle school, whatever, I do remember really enjoying copying dance, like music videos, but not anything Latin wise. This was like, a part of me was like, in the past life, I was a backup dancer for Justin Timberlake or Usher or all these people. So I would literally like, even like, you know, even the NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, like when MTV was having those like music videos and stuff, like I would, with my VHS, I would copy all these dance routines, and I would in my living room learn how to do them more, you know, choreography, stuff like that. Again, I think at that point it still wasn't like I want to do this for a living. I think it was more just like it'd be cool just just like once or twice, just be a backup dancer for someone, you know what I'm saying? But just that was it. Like, and then from there, you know, I think the dancing again was something I enjoyed. I liked it. And then it wasn't until I got into college. So once I got into college is when everything really changed for me, because I went to college on a baseball scholarship. So my direction and my passion and what I wanted to do for a living was to being an athlete, or at least to trying to be a professional athlete. While I did that, I went to college with a business degree. So I graduated with my business degree, and it was my sophomore year where it just clicked. It just happened. You know, me and my roommate, who was another Puerto Rican, who in our school there were like very little Puerto Ricans, because we were in the country, so there was just like 2 Latinos in the entire thing. So my roommate, we went to a club in Tampa. It was a Latin club, and then we see these 2 girls dancing together, one leading the other. And then, you know, obviously we're kind of threatened because we're like, man, like these 2 girls dance way better than us. And it just so happened that one of the girls was the owner of a dance company in Tampa, Florida. So I basically got involved with her into the studio, and then just went through the process. And that was it. Once the bug bit me, it was pretty much no going back at that point. And I think that's when it took me some time, because prior to that, I feel like I was a very ignorant individual when it came to watching others dance, because I was very accustomed to assuming everything was choreography. I was like, that's not dancing, and I'm Puerto Rican, I know how to dance, da, 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 da. And I just really didn't understand until obviously I got involved with a dance studio and realized of the infrastructure of the dance and the true actual component of lead and follow. And that's when I was like, oh wow, like these people are actually creating, and this individual is actually listening to the, to the language and following. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I like this. And that was it. That was kind of where my passion started going towards that. Granted, I still focused on my baseball. I still focused on my degree, but at least now I had like a third component, which initially, even so, started off as just a hobby. It was really just like fun. It wasn't until probably my junior, senior year of college when I was really having to ask myself, what am I going to do? I started really going through all it, like, ooh, a business, a dance studio, traveling and this and that. And I was like, let's give it a shot. And that's when, basically I made the leap forward to be a dancer.
Wow. Because it's one thing of visualizing it, but here you are, like looking back now, saying, I got my dance school, I traveled the world,
For sure.
I
It's
did all
crazy.
of that. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
nah, it really is. I mean, even still, even just now talking about it, like, I go in a very quick rewind to the beginning. And again, I never would have thought that everything was going to play out the way that it did. It wasn't my intention. It was, even at the beginning, it was like, oh, let me just open up a dance school here in Tampa and teach some classes and make some money. That was it. Like, it was not ever with this huge grand vision of what we have now. So it's truly a blessing for sure.
Because when I asked them, like, what made you stick with this particular dance style, it's usually about either that they feel a release of something or that they feel a
Mm-hmm.
boost of something. How kind of, I mean, you started with salsa, right? And then into
Yeah.
bachata. What was it then with bachata that kind of, made you feel something different?
I've said this before in a story, and like, and because it was so long ago, it's hard for me to like, was that actually the piece of the puzzle? Was it? But I really feel it in my heart. So salsa was more of just Puerto Rican, my mom, quinceañeras and stuff like that, always the merengues, the salsas and all of that stuff. And then when bachata came along, because at quinceañeros, people aren't really playing bachata so much because I guess they're trying not to have all the kids, dancing together. I don't know. Or maybe it was a popularity thing. I don't know. But I didn't really hear a lot of, I heard actually more merengue, fulanito and oro solido and stuff like that. Way more at quinceañeros than I did like Aventura and stuff like that. So when I was younger, we used to go Christmas caroling, pretty passionately with my family. This was on the summers when my family would go back to Puerto Rico to visit. And this was a really interesting component because you have this whole family, a squad, just walking house to house, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And all my family members are playing instruments and singing. And I remember my uncle was playing a cuatro. So a cuatro is a 12-string guitar. And there was a picture that was like, someone took a video. This is like 5 in the morning. All my cousins are all sleeping and I'm the only one awake. And I was literally sitting Indian style in front of my uncle who was playing the guitar. And for some reason, I was just genuinely drawn to this, like his guitar. Like, it could have been the sound, it could have been the chord progressions of the fingers. Like, I don't know what it was, but I was like literally singing Indian style, and like his right hand like this, my face was like this, and I'm just like sitting there watching and just like. And I remember seeing this picture, and I was like, wow, since from a young age, I was somehow drawn to guitars, to strings. Fast forward, I learned about this beautiful music called bachata that has a very significant guitar that really just speaks to you, and it just has a very unique sound. And then when I first heard that requinto and I heard the different chord progressions, the sound really just kind of took me back. And I was like, that sounds really similar. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same guitar, but it has a similar sound, and it's being played similarly, where it's like very quick and and I was like I think that was where it was just like, it kind of hit me. I was like, ooh, there's something in already with this music that I'm already in. So I really feel like that was one of the reasons why like bachata just kind of like be the music before the dance. Obviously, the dance came after, and we had to learn that and all that stuff. But the music from the jump was like this felt familiar to me. So that's why I was okay.
It was like heartwarming. Wow.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because, when you're describing this, I'm just also seeing myself and my crew, my hip hop crew, when we first heard kizomba music, because for me that was the same kind of feeling. I was like, oh my gosh, the bass, I can really relate to this, and I can really see myself, whatever we're doing on whatever this music is, I'm in already. Yeah, it's just funny how sometimes you connect with certain sounds in
For
particular.
sure. I
It's
tell
so
people all the
interesting.
time, like I'm definitely very, very much drawn to strings. And then, I think through bachata, I got very interested and intrigued into jazz sounds as well, because jazz has some very intricate and interesting chord progressions when it comes to the guitars. And there was just a lot of really dope music that I was then connected to and drawn to because of the guitar. But yes, the guitar plays a really big part in my love for music, especially through my family, because a lot of them do play the guitars, and it was just a sound I grew up with. So it's just a very familiar sound to continue having.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, it's a lot of, we are always landing back to like you and Tanya, and that is a chapter of itself. But I kind of
For
want
sure.
to see like the period before you met Tanya. What
Hmm.
was it with like the people? Like, were you in some kind of dance crew, or did you have other dance partners, or what was like
Yeah.
the biggest kind of learning moment in the chapter before Tanya that made you ready for this power duo?
For sure. So one of the two girls that were dancing in the club, I dated her. So she was the owner of that dance studio here in Tampa, Florida. So that's how I got involved in that dance world, or in that dance school. From there, I went through the process. I went through, learning, taking the classes, of being a student per se. And then, once I got through the process of being a student, I wanted, okay, what's next? From there, I became an instructor, and then basically started teaching all the way to different levels. And then again, what's next? It was, I think, at that point where myself and my partner were really kind of juggling the idea of possibly performing and traveling and stuff like that. And I was very much into that. My partner wasn't really, like, it was more like, I kind of like it, but I kind of don't. She was really more into like just being a social dancer, owning a studio, but not so much going into the performing aspects, right? So I think at this point, there was already starting to be a disconnect between what my passion and goals and long-term goals were as a dancer and hers, to where it wouldn't have made sense for us to continue our partnership at that point. So we separated as partners. I was just basically an instructor for hers at her studio. I was fine. But now at this point, I was looking for, what's my next move? What's Ataca's next move? So what I did is I went to, since I was living in Orlando, living in Tampa, I went to Orlando because one, my family's there, and two, because Orlando has a very great social dance setting. So I really went out there just to kind of like promote myself. I really just wanted to like show people, hey, Ataca's in the scene, Ataca's here, I'm dancing, I'm a good dancer, and then connect and maybe eventually find a partner. It just so happened that at that point I met Tanya's best friend. She knew of me. She was like, what are you doing out here? And I was like, I'm out here just checking it out, maybe potentially finding a new partner. I'm looking for one. And then that's when she was like, well, you do know Alemana, right? She's looking for a partner. And that was it. Like at that point. So that was my journey prior to Tanya. It was very like, and it wasn't, I don't even really consider like an extensive journey, because it was only really like a year and a half into my dancing. I'd only been dancing for a year and a half. So within that year and a half, it was just going through the ranks of learning, then going through the ranks of being able to teach at every single level. And then from there, really going into more, what's my next move? And at that point, a year and a half is already passed, and I'm looking for a partner.
Yeah, yeah. And what was it that when you met Tanya, you kind of you both had like the same vision, and that was kind of what made it go straight forward? But I know you started with wanting to do salsa, and you kind of
For sure.
ended up doing bachata. Is that something that you realized after your first show, when you received all this love, and everyone just wanted you to continue with bachata? Was the salsa like a dream that you kind of knew instinctively, like, we have to give this up in order for us to gain
Oh
this
yeah.
momentum?
100%. Bachata was never in the cards for us. It was not even a thought. Like, we didn't even, because we were we didn't know anything else. All we knew was salsa. Tanya was, had a salsa school. I was a part of a salsa school. We were salsa dancers with the vision of being like these big salsa dancers, et cetera. So that was it. Our focus was on that. And then when her and I got together to be partners, again, the attention was on salsa. So the conversation didn't come up. The conversation for bachata didn't come up until very early in our efforts to try and being a partner, because when me and Tanya first met, it was a very easy and simple conversation. It's like, hey, what are your long-term goals? What are your short-term goals? What do you want to be as a dancer? What do you want to do? What do you want this? What do you want that? What do you want this? And it just, me and Tanya were in sync. She wanted to travel. She wanted to have a school. She wanted to have a company. She wanted to, create and innovate. And I was like, oh, that's everything I want to do. Perfect. Good. So again, this is all related to salsa. It wasn't until when we first started going into creating our first salsa routine where we realized we were not ready, because I had only been dancing for a year and a half. Tanya had been dancing for 2 years and a half. But in creating something that we need to be visually stimulating and that someone sees and be like, this is what I want, need to be good. And we weren't prepared and we weren't capable of providing something like that. So we were basically at a crossroad where, well, what do we do now? And then I think her best friend at that point really made a statement that kind of like triggered everything, which was what me and Tanya didn't realize was that all the times her and I went out dancing to practice together, to get everyone to see us together, we always danced bachata together, but just to dance. It was more like we were doing the salsa stuff, and then the bachata came on, and because she was feeling me, I was feeling her. I was like, hey, you want to dance some bachata? What's up? And not recognizing that her best friend was watching us all these times and was like, yo, these two dance bachata really, really good. We weren't thinking about that. We were straight up just like enjoying each other's times, falling for each other, all that other stuff. And it wasn't until her friend was like, well, why don't you guys just do a bachata routine? And we were like, a bachata routine? What are you talking about? I was like, dude, like, I've been watching you guys social dancing. You guys are pretty fire. Like, I think you guys could come up with a nice bachata routine in the meantime while you come up with something with salsa. And that's when it was just like, what? And then we started researching. And we started seeing that there were already some videos out there. We started kind of reading the comments, what people were liking, what people weren't liking. And honestly, at this point, I don't think we had a choice. Well, we really didn't have a choice, because that was really the only option we had. So that was it. It was like, okay, let's put together a bachata show, because it seems like this is something that we can do a little bit more effortlessly. And in the meantime, we'll try and outsource this salsa thing to the pros. And that's when we basically hired 2 individual dancers from here in Orlando who, we respected very highly, and that were partners, to come up with a salsa routine for us in the meantime. So basically, while Destraño is being created by us, and we're doing this little salsa social dance to do at a social, a salsa routine is being created for us in the background. So that's kind of how it all played out. And then, like you mentioned, it was with no expectation other than we need to do a bachata routine to get into this social. If not, then we don't have a show to get in. And then that was it. We did that. And yes, we did a salsa social dance that night as well. We video recorded both videos, posted both, but all of our attention was on the salsa social dance, because we were just kind of seeing like, maybe people relate to maybe people are intrigued by this new good looking young couple dancing salsa. And then while we're watching this video, we don't know what's going on over here. And this bachata video, without us even knowing, is getting views. And I think it wasn't until like 2-3 months later where we like, let's look at, how does the bachata video have so many views? And now that's it. It just like, what just happened?
That must have been such easy and yet hard choice, though, because you guys were both more into salsa, and I think insecurity and pride can play in big parts 100%. In taking that decision. Yeah,
it did. Yeah, it definitely did. I remember the conversation clearly too, because we got an invitation to go to an event in Miami, and they hired us to teach bachata. And that was the first phone call we got to teaching a bachata class. And that was when we really had to sit down. We're like, are we about to be a bachata couple right now? Like, is this what has transpired? And again, defensiveness, ego all comes in, and it's just like, nah, like I want to be a salsa couple, da, 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 da. And then obviously when reality hits and when we sit down and we say, wait, hold on, let's take a step back. What goals are we trying to accomplish in the dance world? We want to travel. Bachata's already calling us to Miami. That's one instance. Who knows what could come out of that? People are recognizing us as a dance couple. A lot of these bachata, a lot of these salsa events where they have our, favorite dancers that we want to learn from are now hiring bachata dancers. So now it's very possible that we will actually be able to, see and learn from. So that was it. It was like, we are basically crossing it seems as if this world can potentially, provide all the goals that we wanted in the salsa world. And that was the strong conversation where we were like, all right, well, then let's do it. Balls to the wall, let's go. But it was, even though it wasn't like a balls to the wall, like, forget salsa. It was more, let's keep pushing bachata as our primary now. And then let's just do salsa on the side so that people look at us as always a continued growing dance couple rather than just a bachata couple. Mm-hmm. So we want people to always look at us and always respect us for our level of salsa as well. And that was something we really pride ourselves on, in being at a high level in bachata as well, high level of salsa.
Wow. Yeah, there's some hard choices, because it's not easy when you think like, you want to put all of it there, and then suddenly reality, or like the fans or whatever you say, just wants you to go another way.
For sure.
I mean, you two are very different. Tanya and you are like completely different people.
For
like
sure.
She is more of an introvert and you seems to be more of an extrovert. How
100%.
How has that played out? How hard was it in the beginning to overcome struggles of being balanced? And how have you been working on that throughout this relationship?
Yeah, honestly, like I feel like me and Tanya really never struggled with the differences. For instance, like Tanya and I are just not jealous people. Right. So we're just, from a very early point, we were just very like accepting, and we just understood what it was. Right. So I think that jealousy also can at times carry into aspects like this, which is someone being an introvert, someone being an extrovert wanting to be out, an introvert wanting to be in, and one of those individuals wanting that person to be like them, and vice versa. That I never felt from at all. It was honestly the actual opposite. When Tanya wanted to stay at the house and when they didn't want to do anything, and she knew that I wanted to go out with my boys and hang out and go to the, the club or whatever, she was like, go. Like, no, don't worry about me. Go. And then whenever, she just wanted to just kind of chill and do things at the house, I was just like, do you, what I'm saying? Like, you're an introvert, I'm an extrovert. So it was always a very accepting part of our relationship. She would push me to go out, and I would push her to just stay in and not put herself in positions where she's around a lot of people and probably going to get anxiety and get stressed out and all that stuff, which is very crazy to think, because Tanya has one of the strongest personalities in the dance world, but no one would really ever know or believe that she actually is an introvert. Like, she comes, like, she's strong on stage and she's very outgoing and stuff like that. But it is something that comes natural, but it's a little bit more costing to her because it's a little bit more draining, when it comes to energy, because she's not a very, not naturally vibrant, energetic person, even though she can be that person. She's really just more of a relaxed individual. So when a lot of people grab her energy or want from her, she'll give it to you 100%. She'll just be completely exhausted at the end of it. I'm the opposite. Yeah. I get more, my energy meter just continues rising with all the energy. So like, I don't get drained or necessarily tired as often. I'm actually like, your energy is going to keep me up all night type of thing. So we've been, and even till this day, we've been able to really embrace our differences, and that Tanya's an introvert, I'm an extrovert. Do you boo? And then we support it.
That's beautiful. I can completely relate. I'm the extrovert in me and my dance partner / boyfriend, and he's the introvert. And it's, I also am the one who's feeding off of
For sure.
energies. And, the more we can be out on social dancing and doing this, the better I feel like my dance becomes, the
For
better,
sure.
My engine is just running. But, you learn from each other. One thing that I completely learned from him being more introverted is definitely that I don't have to say yes all the time. What would you say have been one of your biggest learning from Tanya?
I mean, I would say, that I would, that life doesn't have to be 100 miles per hour all the time, right? I feel like sometimes, initially I was like very not, I didn't question it. It was just more like, why don't you want to go out? And why do you always want to be in the house? And what do you want to do this? And, a lot of, there was a struggle initially. And I think it was because I also too wasn't really clearly identifying that Tanya was an introvert, because I was so succumbed with the fact that in the dance world, she's just so so energetic. And, but it's a learning process together. So I would say I have definitely adapted. And I think I've learned to be a little bit more chill. You know what I'm saying? I still get really itchy and very antsy. And I'm just like, get me out of this house type of thing. But I definitely feel like I've also learned to kind of enjoy a little bit more, relaxedness, or, just being chill and not being so energy drawn. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely feel like I've learned from her to not necessarily seek the energy of others to keep myself, like my meter, my gauge up, but also to just be like, no one's around. Yeah, Ataca, just get yourself going type of thing. So she's definitely helped me out a lot with that for sure.
And how would you say that you have complimented her in the duo you have?
I would definitely say I pushed Tanya, I definitely pushed Tanya to break, to break out of that little the shell of introvertness a little bit more, right? Because the reality is Tanya knows I like to go out. For instance, when I say go out, it means like, one, I have my buddies, I have my crew, some are club promoters. So it's like, I like to go out with them, have a couple of drinks, and then show love and support to that. But like, when it comes to like, with Tanya, if it's like, let's go have dinner, I want to go out to have dinner. Tanya's is more like, let's just order it. I was like, that defeats the purpose. I want to get out of the house with you type of thing. So I think that's definitely one thing I feel like she's learned a little bit more, where it's like, there are certain scenarios in life that should not be compared to like going out to a club. But then again, like getting in a car with your loved one and just going to a nice restaurant. Remember, again, it's not a lot of people, it's quiet. So you shouldn't feel like you're at like you're shoulder to shoulder in a club type of thing. So I think there's an understanding and realizing that leaving the house doesn't always have to be club music, crazy da ga 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 ga. It could just as simple enough to just leave the household and then just get out a little bit. So I definitely have, I don't want to say force her, because I don't force her to do anything, but I definitely have challenged her to kind of like want to get out of the house more for things for her. And for instance, right now, she's out having lunch with a friend. So these are little, experiences that I want her to continue, kind of taking advantage of. That going out just means you just get out the house for a walk, for a drink, for this. But I do know that her limit is like when it gets to nightclubs and parties and this, that, a lot of people, she's not really feeling that, not so much.
Which is again super interesting, because she is like Sasha Fierce on the stage, and it's just like, I will break any club into pieces.
For sure, which she can, she totally can.
No, but it's funny. It's funny, because it is that balance, and I definitely think that you can balance each other, but you can learn so much from an introvert that I never knew before I entered this very long relationship too.
For sure.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, let me move on a little bit to, you and Tanya have been performing a lot. Like, you used to be a baseball athlete, but you have been performing a lot. Have you had certain injuries before that you've been struggling with, and how kind of do you stay injury free?
You know what? I knock on wood. I have not. There's only one injury that I've incurred that I can even think of through the entirety of my dance career, which was a hairline fracture that I had on one of my toes. And I think a lot of it was because it just so happened at that specific time we were in a really, really heavy intensive tour in Europe. So there was just a lot, like it was just day after day workshops, a lot of stepping down, a lot of pressure. And it just, I think it was just an unfortunate circumstance that I got injured like that. And I believe in France when that was happening. And then, you know, I started feeling some pain, some uncomfort, went to the doctor. And then they basically said, yeah, you got a hairline fracture on your, I think it was my toe, I'm not sure. So that was the first time that I was like ever really out. Like I had to take at least a week off. I was basically having to, I couldn't social dance, obviously. I would still teach the workshops, but like verbally. So someone like El Tigre would be my body and I would be the voice type of thing. So I would say that's the only time in the entirety of my dance career that I've had anything like that that's kind of taken me out of the game for a little bit. And then everything else after that is just more like general aches and pains from, you know, from getting a little bit older and not being the young high school, college athlete that I used to be. You know, I sometimes have to learn the hard way.
Well, we're not the NSYNC wannabe background dancers anymore.
Yeah,
So.
nah, yeah. Even though we tell ourselves we are sure as hell not. That's
Right.
not the case.
So, what kind of training outside the dancing do you actually keep up? I know you play some basketball. I mean, you and Tanya have put up some videos about that.
For sure, for
But do you
sure.
do other things that kind of make you maintain your physical ability to dance?
You know, I'll be honest with you. Like I don't. You know, because of how long prior to dancing I was very military. So for those that don't know, also is, you know, outside of baseball, I was also very much into, I was in a military school when I was in high school. So I was in, it's a program called NJROTC, which is a program that pretty much prepares individuals for a future life in military. I did it not for the expectation of the future, but for everything that I was going to gain within it. Military, like the discipline, the management, the leadership, and also the fitness. So because of that in baseball, you know, we were working out on a regular basis. So from all the way from high school, all the way to college, pretty much putting hours of practice in gym and this and that, you know, I feel, I could be wrong, but I feel like my body's maintained a sense of like fitness and strength that I don't do a lot of crazy stuff right now. You know, I think at this point it's just to try to protect my body. I've tried, you know, when we were living in LA, I went out to play a couple baseball games and then I pulled a hamstring because I just thought that I was 21 again. And I was like, I got to be careful with my activities at this point because I'm not a young buck no more. So I would say that, you know, Digita is really much into basketball. So every once in a while we'll jump into the court and just shoot some hoops or whatever. Every once in a while I try and jump into, you know, with my baseball buddies and just do some practices just to stay active and fit. Tanya's obviously very much into her fitness right now. So you know, every once in a while I go, you know, I'm not a gym rat. I don't go to the gym as often. For me, I'm more so focused on like eating well. You'll notice that I'll go to the gym when I'm like not eating well or when I'm just like being careless and I'm just eating like crap or I'm drinking too much. Then I'm like, I gotta go to the gym. But obviously throughout the, you know, through this process of the pandemic, I've been eating really healthy. I've been eating really good. So instead of doing the fitness, I've been stretching a lot more. That's really the one thing I've been trying to do way more than I've ever done before. I'm really mindful and I'm just constantly stretching and reaching down and I'm like, I'm gonna touch you toes. I'm gonna touch your toes. So I would say that's the one thing I would say that through, you know, definitely throughout the pandemic, my focus has been on that I did not do through the 12 years of our dance career prior, was really put attention to like stretching and being a little bit more mobile. So that's it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's never too late to reach them toes. Next
For
show, we
sure.
might see a split, but you never know.
I'm hoping. I mean, I'm getting closer. I mean, every day I'm getting closer and closer to being able to touch them toes without having to bend my knees. So I'm gonna start with that. You know, it was funny because my father and my brother were here a couple of days ago, and I didn't realize it till I was showing them a little like stretch machine that I use, whatever. My dad used it, my brother used it, and all three of us went down to touch our toes, and none of us can touch our toes. And I was like, okay, I don't feel so bad. Like, oh, it runs in the family. We just got really, really bad flexibility in our family. So definitely I'm gonna start with the toes first. A buddy of mine, I just recently saw post a picture of him doing a split. He's a salsa dancer. He's also very young, so I don't know if that like counts as something very optimistic for me to think of. But I was like, damn, like a split would be cool. I used to do splits when I was younger, so it's there. It's there,
It's there.
maybe.
It's there. It's all about warming them joints up, man. Slowly but
For
surely.
sure. For sure.
Well, physical training is not all of it, but it's great. You have the diet, you have your ground physical training, but it's also about the mindset. And I really want to come into kind of mindset, because there's one thing to start with a great mindset, but it's another thing to keep going for, like, I don't know, what are you guys in now? 12 years of doing this? Uh,
Going on,
you
yeah,
know,
going on 13.
yeah. So how have you kind of kept your mindset straight? What is it with, the discipline, wherever it comes from, that just keeps you going?
I think, there's two things, right? So I feel like one, there's a confidence that we really had to kind of like, we had to build to being able to get to the point that we're at now. You know what I'm saying? We are now at a position where creatively I'm very confident that I can produce, because I'm that motivated and I'm that drawn to the music, and because again we've been doing this for so long that we have so much material, right? So like I don't ever doubt that when it comes to a creative process that we can accomplish it, no matter the delay or whatever. And and I think it really also comes down to like your mental state and maintaining yourself happy and positive at all times. Like for me, I just really am a very happy-go-lucky type of person. Like I don't really worry about the negative. I try to stay as positive as possible. Granted, positivity is a definition for what people do. It's my own definition. So what I consider positive, someone may not. So it's like, positive that's what I mean by the word positive. It's just something that keeps me up. And there's things that keep me excited and keep me motivated and keep me running, right? So perfect example is that during this pandemic, we really haven't, we dance, but we haven't been able to dance as much as we did when we were traveling every single weekend. And, I've gotten my mind into all different types of things. I've recently gotten into like real estate investments, with some investment stuff with my friends. I've got into the gaming streaming world, which is a world to connect with individuals. Video games, which is something I really enjoyed when I was younger, and learning the technology behind it. So if I were just to go off of those two things, like all those things have really just kept me happy and kept me occupied throughout the day, and even non-dance wise. And just like 2 weeks ago when I had to jump into a studio and come up with a choreography, which I hadn't come up with a choreography in months, it literally just came back to me like that. It was like just like instant. And it was like probably one of the best choreographies I've ever created, which is crazy. I'm just like, what the hell just happened? I haven't literally performed in over a year. I haven't created a choreography in over a year. I literally straight up walk into the studio, hear this song. I'm like, feeling the song, show the video to Tanya and Rudy, and they're like, what the hell did you just create, dude? Like I did. And even Rudy was like, bro, I'm not hating on you, but I know we haven't all been dancing on a regular for a long time. So I didn't really know what to expect with this show, but this show is just crazy good. And I think that was like a real, and then Tanya did the same thing. Tanya created a routine and we were like, damn, that shit is fire. So I think we've gotten to a point where we really just super confident in ourselves, and we trust. I think we trust in ourselves at all given points, whether there's a delay or non-delay, so I think that's where we're at right now. 12 years in, we're still learning, still students, so we're still bringing in new in, but we're in a position now where we can just enjoy the process and not stress the process. Let's enjoy the process, not stress. So I think that's kind of where we're at, and we're really enjoying the ride.
Wow, that's amazing to hear. I feel like that is also something that I take away from last year, is also like, oh wow, music is suddenly like an inspiration for real again. When it's like,
For sure.
I didn't have to like hunt down music to find something to make a choreo out of, but more of like, I'm listening to music and like the steps come to me. That's a
Yeah, for sure.
completely different feeling. So I feel you on this one. It's really nice to hear. I mean, we, as you said before, like there's one thing to battle that self-doubt. Dancers always compares, being compared to a lot of people, but also we compare with ourselves. No, I got to do
For sure.
better than last show and last this. How have you managed the self-doubt? Because I feel like it's hard to get it completely rid of, but it's manageable in some aspects. How have you managed your self-doubt?
I think, I think we're really fortunate and blessed to have had covered that a long time ago, because there was a situation where we were still very much in our early baby stages of our career on and such, etc. And we went to a congress, we performed the show, we felt the energy prior to the show, and we felt the energy after the show, as far as like Ataca and La Alemana energy, Ataca and La Alemana energy. But during the show, it was just super quiet. It was like crickets in a sense. Like this was the first time where I was like, and I think it was also because I was comparing it to some of the other shows where it's like, so these other shows, their intro, outro applause are okay. But during the show, it's just a lot of crazy, and I'm like, okay, well, what are they doing to obtain these applauses? Tricks, all this crazy stuff, yada, yada, yada. So then I was like, do we need to do that stuff to get that energy throughout the routine? So I just started asking some friends, and all of them unanimously said no. They're like, what you have to understand is that they're doing things to try and get people as attached as possible to the routine, and some of them actually rely on applause and screaming and this that for them to be able to perform. The difference for you guys is that you guys, the crowd is quiet because they're really taking it in. So there's no point for them to scream and yell when they're like breathing and they're like, man, this is nice. You know what I'm saying? I was like, and I think it was like basically what we had to decide is, do we want to hone in on keeping the public refreshed and in love and in warped, which are all very quiet actions, or do we want them screaming, yelling, yeah? And I was like, I don't need the screams. I just want to know that they're attentive and they're attached. And I think once hearing the dancers tell me the same thing over and over again, I think it was a way for us to be like, okay, we can at this point just confidently move forward. That's what's happening in the crowd when people aren't cheering. It was at that point where we never looked back. Like we just straight up never looked back. It was like we at that point never questioned the energy and lack thereof of the crowd, because we knew what we were trying to accomplish was more than an actual audible increase. It was more of just an internal, just take a deep breath in, like, damn, this is nice, this is refreshing. Or let me put my arm around my girl and be like, hey, like I'm feeling a certain type of way, like this routine, like that was it. So that was really genuinely what really kind of got us to a point of confidence where we just never looked back. Everything at that point was just really trusting in ourselves, trusting in our product, and really trusting in what we're trying to produce and what people want from us. Because the bottom line is people just want Ataca and La Alemana to love on each other while they perform, because that's what they're used to. You know what I'm saying? They don't want me to toss Tanya in the air, and they don't want Tanya to toss me in the air. They don't want us to do a lot of crazy fast spins and this and that they just want to see us skate on stage and then just kind of fall in love with each other over and over and over and over again. And I was like, oh, I could do that every day. You know what I'm saying? That's easy. Piece of cake.
That's so beautiful. So when you're creating like new content or new shows, is it mostly the message, the music, or the movements that you start with, just in the starting phase?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it has to be the song definitely has to be the first important component that myself and Tanya have to, really enjoy. There are very small cases. For instance, Odio, which is the Romeo Santos and Usher song. When that song came out, I didn't like it. I wasn't feeling it. El Tigre was feeling it. He was like, guys, I'm telling you, this song is going to be popular. So this was the first instance where I basically took a leap of faith in because I believe this song was going to do well because of this collaboration and fusion with a hip hop R&B artist in the Bachata, where I was able to put that aside and learn to grow to love the song through then what came into the moves, right? So that was an instance where the song didn't really do it for me initially. Once I got into the choreography, the moves were like, oh shit, it's a fun little routine. And once I started enjoying the moves, I then started enjoying the song. And then the song just became something dope for me. But normally it doesn't happen like that. Normally it's the song needs to really like, we like the song, right? And then from there, the process is just pretty much an easy process because we like the song, we know the song, and now it's just piecing the puzzles together. So, more for us is once we have the song, the process is a very enjoyable and easy process for us. But there are times that we go into a routine where we like a song here, but then we start creating things down there, and it's just not like to the point where even the song starts to even sound like, I don't know if I like this song no more type of thing, right? Very rare, but there are some times where that happens. So I feel like that's kind of our process. Song, do you like it? Do I like it? Do we vibe to it? Do we gel to it? Do you like the message? Do you like the speed? Good. I like all that stuff. All right, let's jump into what message are we going to get across public? You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's another thing me and Tanya try and do every routine is 1 year we're doing what we call an urban routine. And then the next routine is what we call a classic routine. And the difference is the energy. Urban, we want to be a little more grungy, a little bit more like, just a little bit more, gully, I guess you could say. And then the next one, we always think elegant. So we want like an elegant piece. So it doesn't necessarily mean slow, but it's just like something in the song makes you feel like, oh yeah. And then the other song is more like, ooh, this song is sexy. So that's kind of how me and Tanya like to do when it comes to creating routines is one after the other, one after the other, one after the other.
Oh wow, this is so interesting. Because when my crew back home in Sweden, we always had like different years. So it's like you can follow our mode process. Like 1 year it was like the fun and almost parody, and the next year it was like pain and suffering, and then
yeah,
the
for
third
sure.
year we were just angry. So I also wonder, do you ever get not tired, because of course you want to fall in love with Tanya every single day, but do you ever feel like, no, I just want to be like, come out like a skeleton or do something completely
yeah, I mean, I think we do get the opportunity. For instance, like, even though we have a structure, which we've never mentioned this, like we've never like actually verbally told people what the structure is. We just assume that they can tell that urban, classic, urban, elegant, et cetera, et cetera. But every once in a while we do like a little Dominican piece, a little traditional piece. Sometimes we do a team show. So every once in a while we'll put like some in between shows. So it's definitely, we break the system every once in a while, because sometimes things come in and maybe we want to do a trio footwork piece where now instead of doing a partner work in this, we're doing a faster footwork piece and all that other good stuff. So we find a way in between to like add new things and new components, new messages and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see more of you guys. And who knows, maybe we're gonna sneak in a little kizomba flavor one day.
You never know.
All right, well, so in the end of my interviews I always do something called fill in the blanks. It's basically start a sentence and you end with one word or the end of a sentence. This is really hard, I'm telling you. Okay, all right, okay. Are you ready for this one?
I hope so.
This is always very hard, so don't worry. Okay. I'm gonna start right there. So what one old pattern mindset that I had to let go of was
trying to make everything super crazy hard and difficult.
Boom, you're in it. Okay, you're doing good, Ataca. Let's go.
I'm in.
What is one ultimate life quality for me is?
I would say appreciation of time.
Nice one. Okay, we could do a podcast episode just about that one.
Yeah.
One moment when I realized that I had inspired someone else was?
This is a good one. Okay. I would say when I saw like a specific routine of ours get copied and posted online. I was like, oh wow, they literally just did our routine. That's so cool.
Wow.
So that I think that was kind of like where hey, they obviously liked our routine enough to want to do it, and they're learning from it. So I thought that was cool. I was like, all right, we've
Yeah.
inspired someone.
Yeah, for sure. And many more to come after that too. When I did my new shoes commercial, the Fuego shoes, one thing that I learned was
That keeping shoes camera ready at all times while being a dancer is very difficult. So I literally had to like walk around in sandals and only put the shoes on when I was dancing. And then I had to be very attentive to where like I'm probably gonna have one or two takes. If not, I'm gonna like crease these shoes and get them a little dirty. So I realized it was a lot harder than I expected.
walking around with a package of wet wipes, you know.
We were cleaning. I had like 3 pairs of shoes on set. I wanted to make sure that every shoe looked crispy and clean because we're moving and stuff like that. So it was a fun process though.
All right. One difference between Ataca the dancer and Ataca the music artist is.
All right, well, definitely easy. Ataca the dancer is 100% confidence. Ataca the singer is not. I would say Ataca the dancer extrovert. Ataca the singer introvert.
Boom. There you go, people. Everyone who's listening to these new songs are like, they gotta know. Well, I think it was very courageous, I must say. I'm not sure I would ever do that. So, thanks for holding it down for us other dancers.
I mean, I will say, even though I say introvert, I'm pretty confident with the process as far as like, because I also go into like, I'm not trying to be a professional singer and no one's supposed to judge me. If you're trying to compare me to a professional singer, then that's you, not me. So I'm actually going into it a lot more confidently than I expected. But I think introvert, I go into it very like passive because I need the guidance of those around me, like for instance Grupo Extra and everyone, to really like, yo, you gotta take me there, bro. Like if you don't take me there, I don't know where to go. Dancing, I don't do that. I guide myself. I'm confident, I'm good there. So I'm pretty confident with the singing stuff, but yes, the extra guidance from the individuals that we work with help out. So definitely really fun process. But sometimes I blush a little bit, you know what I'm
saying? Hey, don't we all when we do something new though?
That's for sure.
One of the best advice when it comes to my entrepreneurship was
100%. Life is all about balance. As far as when we talk about entrepreneurship, there's so many things in life that you want to do and that you can do, but you have to be able to disperse your energy and your time the right way. And I think that's it's way easier said than done. But I would say with proper balance of life, there's a lot that you can do, in specific entrepreneurship, business, yada, yada.
One tip that I would give to other dancers when it comes to growing their social media would be.
This is pretty, I don't do this, but I know that is the right answer. It's content. You gotta provide, you gotta produce content. I don't do it as often as I should, but then again, it's also not something where like I get mad at myself later because I'm not growing my Instagram as fast as I want. I'm at my pace. But based off your question, if someone's like, I wanna go it, then it's very easy. It's content. It's content on content on content. And you gotta load your stuff, 2-3 posts a day, stuff, that's it. There's no other equation you need. That's what you gotta do. And not worry so much about it being great content or perfect content. At the beginning, it's just content. Go, just post it, pictures, this, that. Just you gotta put content out.
That's a good one. Also the second advice of not waiting until it's perfect, because it has stopped me and so many others so many times.
For sure.
Should I really post this? And then you don't do it just because you're never really satisfied.
Yeah, it's important for everyone to understand that when it comes to videos, regardless of the quality, because everyone always like, I don't want to post this video because I haven't been able to edit it. I'm like, then you're delaying. Get your phone, record it, and post it. That's it. Yeah, but this could be better with some editing. Of course it could. But right now, you need to get content out. So a phone video suffices. So I think that's kind of something also too, is that we have to really like force ourselves to, content is content. And there is a difference between good content and bad content, but none of it's necessarily hurting you, because bad content also produces comments and engagement. So if there's something that's bad and people are telling you suck, that's actually engagement on your video. So good job, you know? What can you say?
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Last one. My vision for Island Touch is.
Oh man, the vision is blurred. And the vision is blurred because like we are the type that cannot like stop. Like there's no way for me to even clearly paint what I see as a future of Island Touch, because we just continue to like surprise ourselves and get more into different things. Like, so like it's blurred in the sense where like I just see like a lot, but I don't know what's the clearest of them all. But I definitely can say that prosperous, happy, healthy, and very, very, very much engaged in this world, which is the music and dance world. We're going to be around for a long time. So we may not be young bucks and as active as we are now, but this is the life that we love, and this is the community that we love. And that's what I envision, is that with us being a part of this world for a very long time, somehow or another. Educational, inspirational, motivational, all that good stuff.
Wow. And I'm just coming back to what we said in the beginning, like how you one day just envisioned that you would have this dance school and that you would have, all this traveling. I know it's really hard. It's maybe even impossible to pick one thing, but what can you say so far? Because it's a long way to go. What would you say so far has been one of your proudest achievements?
I mean, damn, there's just so many, right? And I don't want to give you like a cliche-ish one where like my proudest memory was meeting Tanya, because obviously that would be one of my proudest memories, but everyone should expect that one to be one. I would definitely say it was when I got cast to be the lead role in a salsa movie. I feel like that was like one of the moments where I was like, never in a million years would I had ever thought that I was going to be on the big screen, going to be in a project that was going to be in over 600 theaters worldwide and be the lead role in the movie. So I gotta be proud. That makes me super happy. I'm super proud of that. I should, and it's because it's still connected to the dance world. So if I had to choose one, I would say that that's probably like for right now one of my most proudest memories, because it was something extremely, extremely unexpected.
Wow. I cannot even start to imagine how your big family reacted. Puerto Rican,
oh my God,
super proud, and like to have you on the big screen representing the culture as well. Wow.
It was crazy. It was an immense load of love from, and even just to see like my grandparents, like seeing like the trailer and stuff like that. And yeah, they don't understand the language, but they're like, he's on TV, like, right. That type of thing. Like he's on TV. And then like all my cousins and my uncles and my aunts and just, and obviously my mom, my dad, and my brother, like it was just a really awesome thing. And then the process was beautiful too, because I involved them in it. The screening and the viewings and all that stuff. So it's like, it was just something super cool. But I will say, I definitely have felt very similar feelings bringing my parents and my family to my dance events, because they're proud of me at all times. They see me on stage and the look that they have on their faces is amazing. So, but that's just like, because I feel like that's probably a very expected answer. That's why I was like, you know what? Everyone should expect that, meeting Tanya and growing this partnership with her was obviously very, top on the list. Meeting Rudy, top on the list. Building the company, starting the studio, top on the list. So I was going to switch it up on everybody.
Yeah.
Like the movie definitely was something very unexpected and something I will always be super proud of.
Right. And I mean, even though we know this about Tanya, maybe it's not even the moment you met her, but to keep her.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think you nailed it on the nose. Like, I mean, it's like 12, still to be here 12 years later, especially since, for those that don't know, like me and Tanya, when we first started dating, we were very reluctant in dating because of this typical stereotype that people put on couples in the dance world and couples not lasting. So that was one of the reasons why we just kind of like we were a little reluctant into making our relationship official. So knowing that we started our relationship with that feeling, then saying, you know what, F it, we're gonna beat the stereotype. We're going to show people that you can last, to know that that's how we started. And then now to still be together 12 years later. Yeah, 100%. That's a crazy, crazy, amazing accomplishment for us as individuals, and our strength and our love and our passion for each other. So yeah, I would say definitely that tops the movie one for sure. But you know, I had to give them a little something different, different.
Sure. And I'm so happy you mentioned it, because it's very hard. I tried to fit all of it in this interview, but shit, man, you have done a lot.
Well, we're gonna have to do a part 2. Maybe the next one we do it with both me and Tanya. Now, you know, we can just do a nice little part 2 continuation.
Hey, yo, this has been so dope. Thank you so much for opening up, for being so transparent and so open and warm. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
In the end of my interviews, I always give the mic to my guests. Is there anyone you want to love bomb, shout out?
Sure.
Where should we check out your projects? Where can people find you? The mic is yours.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first off, thank you so much to you for having me, for the invitation. Obviously, I know that you obviously had Tanya, so I'm really happy that you were able to get me in as well. And very much looking forward to a possible continuation, maybe a couples interview. So that's obviously, I want to start with you and obviously your viewers. Thank you for being here. You know, I think standard, just, you know, want to give a shout out to my team, you know, especially during this time. You know, I'm really proud of you know, Tanya, T-ZER, Bianca, you know, the core of Island Touch, for being able to adhere to all the obstacles that this pandemic has really put in front of us. So I'm just really, really proud of my team. And I'm really excited for, you know, even now through the pandemic, I'm just super excited for all the new projects and things that we have to come. So all I would say to all the individuals out there, you know, definitely follow all of our social medias, everything from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We have individual pages, and then we have joint pages, because we all have our lives. So Tanya has her individual life with fitness and all her good stuff. I have my life with streaming, gaming, fashion, all the other stuff. And then you have Ataca and La Alemana. So I would just say, please follow all of our platforms, every single one, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, the whole thing. And then obviously to stay connected with us through this pandemic, and since we're a little bit distant, you know, from a presence perspective, because there's no events, you know, please check out our website, islandtouchdance.com, where we're still providing a lot of different merchandise, content on a regular basis. We're getting out there, providing way more content now than we've ever before. islandtouchonline.com, where now you can take online classes with us and stay connected with all the new term patterns and material and stuff like that. And then just be ready, because there's a lot of really dope projects that we got coming out. You know, my team's in the Dominican Republic right now. We have new music coming out, that's for sure. That's finished. So we just did that a few weeks ago. So new music coming out. Yeah, just a lot of really dope things coming. So I would just recommend the people to really just follow our moves, stay attentive. You know, we're really excited for what's to come with what we believe is going to be a beautiful new normality for the dance world, because the old normal, that don't exist no more. We now are building a new normal, and I think that new normal is going to be kind of dope. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Wow, that is so dope. Thank you so much, Ataca. Don't forget to click subscribe, comment below, and give us a rating or review. We have a Facebook page, YouTube page, and we are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and all the other podcast platforms. We also have an Instagram, so don't forget to tag us in your favorite episode and share it with the world, because we read all of it.